It is time. We are now live on YouTube. This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for
What in the World with Paul Seaburn.
Absolutely.
We're here after a couple of we're like a launch from Cape Canaveral after a few false starts. Exactly. Or no, we're more like the Browns after many false starts, a couple of holding penalties. We are now live, so that's great. And thank you all for joining in from wherever you are. We're here with What in the World, which is we hope to be one of the funniest strange news shows on the internet, on the podcasting world.
Absolutely.
To fill you in, if you're brand new to listening or watching, I am the editor and head writer at mysteriousuniverse.org, another source of strange and paranormal news stories. Come and visit me there. You'll see some pictures of some of the stories I'll be talking about. So for more information on me, go to my Facebook page where I test out jokes that I might be doing on the show. I try to find more funny stories. Karen is our producer, co-host, and the mogul, the podcasting mogul at newclevelandradio.net, which is our platform, home of many, many great podcasts. Once you're done with us, and we hope you're never done with us, but once
never.
Yeah, take a break and look at some of the other podcasts she has. She has some wonderful podcasts of any subject that you can think of, music, Scrabble. Where else do you find a Scrabble podcast? That newclevelandradio.net. And somewhere in the background there, our technical and co-host, Rich Hale, is there. So we hear from him every once in a while. We're always happy to hear from him.
We've just confirmed we're live.
Okay, shut up, Rich.
Love it.
Good timing. Couldn't have been better. Thank you, Rich. So anyways, we talk about all kind of fun things. This has been, as you know, Karen, every week tops the previous week for weird. And believe it or not, for the first time in a couple of weeks, I don't think we're going to have as many coronavirus stories as we've had in previous weeks. I'm glad. Yeah. What are we going to be talking about? I've got we're going to answer the question whether Americans believe more in Bigfoot or in aliens. Well, that ought to be I don't want your answer right now. I'll ask you later. We're going to talk about beards. Hey, there's a new study that says that male humans evolved beards to protect their chins in fights. So we're going to find out if that's true or not. I got a quick little story from Detroit where a priest was seen squirting holy water.
My city.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not your religion, but I'll fill in that side. I thought that was the funniest thing, but nowhere near as funny as this restaurant in Maryland, where they're dealing with the coronavirus social distancing in the absolutely most hilarious way imaginable. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I've got some other stories for us, so let's get right to it. I apologize for shuffling papers around here, but if you waited until I memorized all these stories, we wouldn't be doing a podcast. So anyways, Karen, I don't know how you and Rich are passing the time when you're not on the air, and you're always podcasting, but I know there's various times when you have downtime.
Right.
Many people are assembling jigsaw puzzles. Seems to be the hot thing in the world. Not me, not the lovely Donna, but many, many, many of my friends are assembling jigsaw puzzles. But you may have seen this week. Heinz, the ketchup people, have come out with a 570-piece ketchup jigsaw puzzle. So completely red all the way across. So realistic. In order to get it out of the box, you have to hit the bottom of it.
Oh.
So it looks extremely difficult. 570 pieces, all red. I'd give up after a few minutes. That's not my kind of thing. I can't, and then there's a missing piece. I can't find my keys. How am I going to find a little piece that big? I can't. And I don't put things in the right place. The lovely Donna will attest to this. The silverware drawer. There's little spaces that are shaped like spoons and forks.
Right.
I never hit the right one. I don't have that gene. So give me a jigsaw puzzle, forget it. but there's people that do great and thoroughly enjoy it. That apparently jigsaw puzzles are way out of proportion during the coronavirus thing. So I went looking, as I like to do, for some world records having to do with jigsaw puzzle assembly. You know, maybe we should do you can do a podcast on jigsaw puzzles. Wouldn't that
thank
be a
you.
snoozer? Like do one on golf. Yeah. I apologize to puzzle makers and golfers out there. The largest jigsaw puzzle in the world, get ready for this, measured 65,000 square feet. And I don't know the length and width of it, but 65,000 square feet. That's a huge, huge area. It had 12,320 pieces. They did this in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates, back in 2018, when they could still afford to do things like that. Huge, absolutely huge. Yeah, you know, you had to have big, hefty guys, I guess, lifting the pieces and moving.
Pieces, yeah.
Yeah. Now, that was 12,000 pieces, far below the record for the most pieces in a jigsaw puzzle. Yes, I know. I felt the same way. Get ready for this: 551,232 piece jigsaw puzzle in at the University of Economics in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam was where they built it. It took 1,600 students at the university's economic department to build this puzzle. It took them over 17 hours to do it, which to me seems like an
17 hours, that's all?
Yeah, well, 1,600 people.
Yeah,
They
I
must
get
have had somebody organizing it and doing it in
Right.
teams. But economics students, here's my thinking. Someone must have told them that we found something that's more boring than economics. Make it puzzle.
I would
They're
agree.
excited about economics again. Now we go from the largest to the smallest commercial jigsaw puzzle. Now this is one you can buy in a store. Smallest commercial jigsaw puzzle, 1,000 pieces, 7.1 inches by 10 inches. So that's, you know, that's the size of a pot holder. 1,000 pieces in a space the size of a pot holder. This one was from Hong Kong. You know, I'm trying to imagine 1,000 pieces. To me, this is like maybe making a rice cake, one rice piece at a time.
Yeah,
That's what that's the closest thing I could come to it. It says on the box, okay, they showed a picture for the box. It says ages 10 and up. Do not attempt if you have allergies, because you know you start sneezing, there go all the pieces all over the place.
God.
It also says underneath that line, it says if you lose a piece, look under your fingernails, because that's how tiny they are. They're just these tiny little things. It's minute. I can't imagine not assembling it, not doing it without tweezers, because they're just completely tiny.
Magnifying glasses too.
Yeah, there you go. So,
Whoa.
and then the most different, to me, that would be the most difficult jigsaw puzzle. But the absolute rated most difficult jigsaw puzzle made by Paul Lamond Games, it's called the Sweetshop. It's only 529 pieces, but the front of it, it looks like a flat pan filled with multicolored gumballs.
Okay.
So except on the flip side is another picture of multicolored gumballs. And to make it harder, they turned it 90 degrees, so upside down that would be, so the picture is in reverse. So you have a piece of the puzzle with little pieces of gumball on either side. You don't know which side it belongs on, for one thing. So you've got to figure out which side it belongs to and then assemble it somehow. I get tired just thinking about
Thinking
it.
about it, right.
Yeah. I mean, it's so difficult. How difficult is it? The box contains a number of a psychiatrist and a suicide hotline. That's how difficult it is. I didn't even want to go into it. So let's go. Let's move on to something more fun. And this story comes to us from England. Okay, this is for my lovely friend Tex Chick and her high maintenance husband. the Vindolanda Museum, which is along the Hadrian's Wall, which is in the middle of England. Lovely Don and I have been there. So researchers at the Vindolanda Museum were digging, I love this. They found a bag of pieces of leather in some storage room. And they say, hey, look at this. You know, I wonder why nobody ever looked at this. So they did. And it's full of dried pieces of leather, 2,000-year-old pieces of leather from when the wall was built by the Romans. Inside of that, they found a prank mouse, a piece of leather that looked exactly like a mouse that they figured Roman soldiers or Romans, whoever was there, must have used to pull practical jokes on their friend. 2,000-year-old practical joke made out of leather. So so it's like I can just imagine the Roman Senate meets. Julius Caesar comes in, Brutus comes in. Julius Caesar goes to sit down. There's a mouse on his seat. He looks over, he says, "Et tu, Brute?" and Brutus says, "Just wait."
Wow.
So I, and of course, you know me, Karen. I had all these gag gifts, the gag when I was a kid. I had a rubber mouse. Now, I remember this rubber mouse. It had a suction cup on the back of it, so you could stick it to a wall, or you could stick it to a window, or you could stick it to the ceiling. So we thought, my friends and I, that this was the coolest thing. We could stick this mouse to the ceiling. Have you ever seen a mouse on a ceiling? No.
No, I would run out of the room if I did.
There you go. Well, but if you stayed long enough, it would fall off. In fact, it would fall off immediately because mice are not like lizards or insects that stick to the ceiling. They can go up maybe a foot and then they fall back down. So if my mom were to come in and see a mouse on the ceiling, she would know that's not a real mouse. Obviously, that belongs to me. Now, as I'm certain, as many of my gags gifts came from back then, and many that I still own, came from the SS Adams Novelty Company, the most famous novelty company in the world. They make, get ready, joy buzzers, exploding cigarettes, the snake that comes out of the can of nuts, classic. I think I have one of those around here somewhere. Itching powder, always a good one. The stink bomb, and the dribble glass, the infamous dribble glass, which everybody remembers being suckered into. So I was wondering, I've done research on the SS Adams company before for another story. I wanted to learn a little more about the company. So SS Adams was a Swedish immigrant, came to New Jersey. And in 1904, he was working as a salesman for a dye company, okay? DYE dye company for dyeing material.
Got it.
Okay, so he's in the plant or the factory checking out what the latest dyes are, so he knows what to pitch to his customers. And the factory workers are complaining because one of the dyes is making them sneeze, and they can't sell it because if they can't breathe while they're using it, the customer won't be able to either. So SS Adams, being the brilliant salesman that he is, he says, "Leave it to me. I'll figure out a way to sell this stuff." So he takes it to his hotel or wherever he was living, and he figures out a way to extract the sneeze part out of the dye, okay? And then he decides to sell the sneeze part instead of the dye. He calls it Kachoo. Gee, I wonder why.
Good name.
and people are buying it from it more than they're buying the dye. So he quits the job as a dye salesman. His wife must have been thrilled, and forms a company called the Kachoo Sneezing Powder Company in Plainfield, New Jersey. Kachoo Sneezing Powder Company. And that's how he makes a living for a while. He becomes so famous that people are pitching him other gags to sell. So before you know it, he changes the name to the SS Adams Company because he has such a big line. The Bar Bug in the Ice Cube, one of my favorites. The Money Maker, which was a magic trick. The Squirting Nickel, I had one of those. The Jumping Coin, the laughing tissue. His biggest mistake, and he admits this in his biography, he passed on the whoopee cushion. And that's not a pun. He was offered the whoopee cushion as a product, and he thought it was too offensive. So it got picked
Really?
up by another company that made a fortune doing it. But then he had to play catch up, and of course he couldn't use the name whoopee because it was already copyrighted. So he called his the raspberry cushion, which, while us in the game know what a raspberry is, or of a certain age, it nowhere did it nowhere in any shape or form did it sell as well as the whoopee cushion did. So I thought that was so that all came from the rubber mouth. And here you go. These practical jokes were being played 2,000 years ago. So that tells you that that's obviously something that's innate in us humans. Not necessarily something to be proud of, but at least it tells me that I'm normal or somewhat normal, or at least like Roman soldiers. I'd like to be like a Roman soldier. I like the outfit, the helmet and not those short pants though. I don't know how they fought in those.
I don't know, but that would show off those legs of yours.
Oh, speaking of gag gift, I'm reaching to. Yeah, right. I'm sorry, I missed your joke there. I'm reaching for a glass of water, and I resurrected a mug.
I love it.
I didn't have to describe it. You can see it. So everyone asked me where I get my sense of humor from. Half of it came from my father, who gave me this mug. So I'm going to drink for a second here.
Where did the other half?
Come from my mother,
who
put up with us, who put up with both of us for all of our lives. So, okay, so here's a story for you, Karen, straight from Detroit. A Catholic priest in Detroit took social distancing to a new level when he had his parishioners come to the parking lot of the church and drive by him as he stood in front of the church. And normally he would give a blessing, and spread holy water, but he had to stay 6 feet away, and that was too far to shake his shaker that he used for holy water. So he loaded up a squirt gun and squirted through the window as he blessed people. That was the funniest thing. So I'm thinking, something had to go wrong. And the only thing I could imagine was somebody pulls up in a Dodge Demon and he gets some holy water on it, and the demon goes into flames like a demon is supposed to when they get holy water in it. So I thought, this is unbelievable. I wish our parish priest would do that. He does other things, but he'd be the kind of person who would do something like that. So this is a big deal, this holy water thing in Catholic churches, and in not just Catholic, but many of the Christian religions that use holy water as a blessing or some sort of part of the religious ceremony. It's banned in many churches. Towards the end, we had no holy water in our church. They weren't allowed to use it, and which is ironic, because the purpose of holy water is to protect you from evil. But apparently the coronavirus is not evil enough, or maybe it's not in the job description of holy water, that it's not listed as, under demons and vampires, and I don't know what else holy water protects you from. So, but it's in the, it's a deep-seated belief, and it goes back, well, obviously 2,000 years, but in the Middle Ages, people were so enthused about the power of holy water that the churches had to keep it under lock and key, because people were breaking into the church in order to steal holy water. Now, how does anyone know that the water that you have, that you're throwing at this demon, is actual holy water and not fake holy water?
Right.
It's not labeled, or anyway. So its most popular usage outside of church is in exorcism. And if you've seen any exorcism movies, the priest sprays it on the person who's possessed and says a bunch of prayers and incantations, and supposedly the devil leaves. So here's something I didn't know in all of this. Many of the exorcists, in addition to using regular holy water, they add salt, blessed salt, to the holy water, which, it's for them, from what I can understand, it's just another tool against the devil. And I'm trying to think, well, why on earth would salt work? And then I realized that either the devil's a diabetic and it's,
Only you would
has
think
high
that.
blood pressure. Yeah,
Yeah.
has high blood pressure. Or the devil is a snail. And so you get salt on a snail, they shrivel up and die. So I don't know. One of those things. Oh, there goes Rich in the background there.
Yeah.
Thanks for. I'm sorry. Was he offended by the salt?
I don't think so.
Okay. So anyway, so there you go. There's your story from Detroit. Now we'll stay in the United States for our next story. We go to Ocean City, Maryland. And this story was all over the internet. The Fishtails Bar, great name for a bar, in Ocean City, was offering its own version of social distancing. So instead of putting up plexiglass screens or shower curtains,
Yeah.
doing that, or just measuring off 6 feet between tables, what they did was they got special tables made with inner tubes all the way around
I saw that.
of the table.
Yeah.
Wasn't that great? So I'm thinking this is, and they're on wheels, so they
Right.
can move them around. But you're right in the middle of it, so you can move around. So the person sits in the middle. It's like a uni table. You're the only person at the table. And to me, it's a great solution for bar fights because you can't get close enough to fight with somebody else. So you're just bumping into them like
Right.
sumo
Bumper cars.
wrestlers, banging. Or and one of my Facebook people mentioned this to me, like bumper cars
You're right.
from the amusement park. It's kind of what it looked like. It looked like they were in bumper cars. Well, you know how that is with me. It's time for some trivia. I looked up bumper cars because I wanted to know a little more about bumper cars. So if you've been to Cedar Point, the greatest
Right.
amusement park in the world, certainly the leader in roller coaster, they have a bumper car ride, which I know I rode on. I'm sure you rode on. Bumper cars were invented. There's this controversy over who invented them. So one name was Victor Levand, who worked for General Electric, and that was back in the day in the early teens when they were looking for things to use electricity for, so that people weren't as afraid of it as they were back then. The other group was was Max and Harold Stoller of Massachusetts. They were inventors. They got the patent, so they beat out the General Electric guy for the patent for the first bumper car in 1920, and they came up with the name Dodgem. So their company was called the Dodgem Company. They made Dodgem cars. Now there's pictures. I don't have a picture. Oh, I had a picture of the people in the bumper.
Yep.
You see that? Yeah, there they go. There's the table. The early Dodgem cars were made out of tin, not the greatest metal in the world, and they were like the Model Ts of bumper cars. So they fell apart after each use. So part of the job of the operator was to go out there with tin snips and hammer and nail and put the cars back together.
Oh my gosh. Ain't my job.
Yeah, forget that. That's beyond my job description. And they were dented as soon as you hit them. They dented. Parts came off, and so obviously we were talking about electricity. It was to demonstrate the uses, safe uses of electricity. The oldest system was called the overhead system, which used a conductive floor and a conductive ceiling, and they were separated. They each had their own polarity, their own separate power source, and there was a contact on the bottom on the wheels and a contact on a pole connected to this little flappy thing at the top of the pole, which touched the ceiling, forming a complete circuit. So that just, to me, just added to the excitement, because here you are, as soon as they turn it on, this thing starts buzzing and sparks are shooting out of it. So you're driving around looking for your friend, trying to nail them from behind or from the front. And there's sparks flying everywhere and it's buzzing and kids are yelling. And it was the greatest ride in the world. So Cedar Point, going back to Cedar Point, first Dodgem ride was installed in 1967. So it was an early ride. Now Cedar Point's
Wait
been
a second,
around for a while.
1967?
1967 was the first. So they didn't have one before then. They were more of the wooden roller coaster, more of the.
Now, wait a second. I was at Cedar Point in 1956,
1950. Oh, yeah.
and they had Dodgem cars.
They had a Dodgem car then?
Yes.
Well, then I have to check my sources.
Because I was going to tell you, I've been terrified to go on Dodgem cars since then, because one of the things they said was once you're in the car, stay in the car until it's over.
Right.
And some young girl got out of the car and got electrical burns.
Oh, no. She got
Yeah.
run over by a Dodgem car.
Yeah. So I'm terrified of Dodgem cars.
Wow.
Yeah. I was 6 years old.
6 years old. So I'm not going to do the math. I don't want to embarrass you. Okay, I take your word for it.
Yeah.
Is
in 19
that like the train crash?
Yeah, it's almost like the train crash.
Oh, no.
Never mind.
Wait a minute. This is not True Confessions, Rich. That's a different podcast. So in 1970, 3 years later, Cedar Point was 100 years old. So it's been around since 1870. In 1970, they bought their second Dodgem facility called Dodgem 2. Very clever name. And they moved Dodgem 1 off to the corner, and eventually they phased it out. And this, which means 1970 was the 100th anniversary. This year would have been the 150th.
Wow. Yeah.
I know they had some big celebrations planned. Maybe flaming Dodgem cars. I don't know, something to really get you excited about it. So anyway, so that's the story of the Dodgem car.
Wow.
And if you would you be afraid to step into the inner tube tables and bounce around in those?
Oh, I think I need one of those. That would help me keep my
I need one for home.
Yeah.
Rich, don't get too close in the kitchen while you're fighting over the
Well, I'm cooking. Yeah.
croissants. Yeah.
You got it.
Raspberry. What was that flavor you liked? The raspberry muffins or?
No, cherry chocolate chip.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. I'll have to remember that. So, okay. So in Dodgem is kind of a sport. So we got a little bit of a sports theme here coming up. And this story comes from Seoul, South Korea, where a former boxer now owns a shoe store. And apparently he was having some break-ins. So in order to scare away burglars, this is what he says, he goes out in front of the store every morning before it opens, and there's a tree in front of this store. He goes and he bangs his head against the tree. And he says that he's trained to do that from his boxing days, so it doesn't hurt, but it scares away the burglars. Now it attracts a lot of woodpeckers, but it scares away the burglars, which is the key to what he's trying to do here. And the poor guy he's got a scar tissue built up on his forehead. He doesn't care because it keeps him away from his shoe store. Now, to me, if you want to advertise that you have a shoe store, maybe you should be kicking the tree. And then as people walk by, say, hey, look, steel toe. Why you wait? $5.
Like that.
Yeah. I think, think about that. So, I mean, and that banging your head against a tree seems to me is the weirdest boxing training I've ever heard of. Now, if you remember the Rocky movie, in the original movie, he trained his brother-in-law, Paulie, used to let him into the butcher shop, and he would hit sides of beef in the freezer. And that's how he trained for his first.
Right.
Now, when he had money by Rocky IV, when he fought Drago, the Russian, he went back to nature again, and he trained at some cabin up in the woods, in the mountains, in the snow, pulling logs behind himself. So I can imagine Rocky saying, "Yeah, yo, Adrian, where's that tree?" I don't. That's a little bit. Oh, so those are a couple of short stories. Now, I had another boxing story that I wanted to, well, believe it or not, it kind of leads into boxing. It's really about beards. This is a very popular story up at Mysterious Universe this week about beards. And it has to do with a study. And this is proof that you can get any kind of study funded, because they did these researchers at the University of Utah studied, they came up with this theory that men have different chins than women. Okay, so that's something that you can see. You don't see too many women with like a Jay Leno chin.
Right.
Mostly men have those big chins.
Maybe in
So-
England.
Who?
Maybe in England, women
Oh,
with chins like Jay Leno. Never mind. I was
no.
being.
I lost it there. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no, not the flap. We're just talking about the chin. So it's been long accepted by scientists, by biologists, I guess it would be, that men evolve chins differently than women, but they weren't really sure why. They thought that fighting might be involved with it. So these guys came up with the idea that beards were a cushion. They evolved as a cushion for men to protect their chin from blows from cavemen. And history tells us that the original fighting was hand-to-hand combat before knives and spears and all that other kinds of stuff. Women, and the face was the target, because we got ears and noses and stuff,
Sure.
plenty of things to grab onto. Perhaps the cavemen saw one of their friends walking into the cave, and they didn't duck, and they hit their head and they fell down, and they thought, oh, I got to remember that. That'll come in handy someday if I ever have to fight Ugg over there. So that kind of evolved a tendency to aim for the head and the chin, which was stuck out in front first. Women, on the other hand, don't, as far as I can tell from the few fights, actual physical fights that I've seen women participate in, they don't generally hit each other in the face. They know better. A, they have makeup on. B, they know how expensive it'll be to fix whatever it is that they do up there. Hit me someplace, hit me in the butt, hit me someplace where it's not going to look so bad. And so they think. I think that probably also evolved. So it turns out that a previous study found that men suffer up to 92% more injuries to the face in fights than women. So okay, so that's the build up, the defense that these guys came up with to get their funding to study
Okay.
this. So now, okay, so now they need to build a test face, because you can't look for volunteers. Say, hey, we want to test how much a beard protects your face from getting punched. Okay, so you, Paul, with the beard, come here. Here's $25. And I don't, it'd have to be a lot more than $25 for me to do that. So they decided they couldn't get any volunteers. So they looked at animals. What animals have hairy faces? Well, that kind of narrows it down to apes, but ape skin didn't preserve very well, and the hair fell out. So then they, goats have, but their heads were too small. So they decided to use sheepskin with the wool still attached to it. Okay, kind of makes sense. Okay, wool doesn't exactly feel like beard, but they combed it out and they teased it and they prepared it so that it was as close as they could come to beard. Then they took the skin, they shaved some of them. So they had some that were long, some that were medium, some that were shaved for the different kinds of men's faces. Now they needed a chin. So they decided to use an anvil, which is kind of ironic because, a lot of times you describe an actor as having an anvil chin.
Okay.
Like John Hamm,
Right.
for example, or Jay Leno, or an athlete, Tom Brady, who I'm sure people would want to take a punch at him, but he doesn't have a beard, so it wouldn't help for the experiment. So now they have the hair and they have the chin. Now they need a fist. Okay, so they couldn't ensure that a human would hit with the same force every time. So they got a piston. Okay, real easy solution, and they could control the force that it hit. So they figured out the force of the average punch and hit the wall to simulate it, and they hit it over and over again for thousands of times with all different combinations. And what they found was that the bushy wool beard protected the men 30% more than a shaved face. So that says that 3 out of every 10 punches would have just bounced off. Does that mean that beards actually did evolve to absorb punches? I don't know. I'm not a good example. I'm a pacifist myself. I don't like getting into fights, so I have no personal experience in that. You've never seen boxers with beards, okay? So that I'm thinking, what other sport has punching? You've got boxing, you've got mixed martial arts. Boxing, you never see boxers with beards. That's because they're banned. real easy answer to that. Why are they banned, you may ask? Well, they used to think that it was an unfair advantage, even though they had no proof until now. But they also, the cut man, if you get cut and you get a hair into the cut, it can get infected real quick.
Got it. Okay.
So that was the reason why they didn't do it. Mixed martial arts, you see those guys, they have scruffy beards, they have long beards, doesn't really matter to them. They like to use the beard, they can grab onto it. Turns out that mixed martial arts also bans beards, but their organization is much less powerful than the many different boxing federations that rule that sport, so-called sport. Sometimes I wonder. So bottom line, if you anticipate, let's say you're going to a family reunion and you anticipate that there might be some political discussions going on there, that you want to protect yourself. Should you grow a beard? No, stay home. if you think the fights are going to get that bad, stay home.
Absolutely.
Eat at home. Do a Zoom family reunion.
Wow. Well, I'm going to have to ask my son why he grew a beard now.
Oh.
Yeah. Because
Well, maybe that's it. Is he getting into fights?
No.
No.
Maybe somebody told him that would protect him, so I'll have to ask him.
It would. Does he trip and fall face first a lot? It would probably protect them from that too.
Oh, no, he doesn't do that either. But, if it's, would save him, he'll probably keep it then.
A better idea. Get him one of those tables with the inner tube.
Yeah.
And just have him walk around in that. To me, that looks like it'll protect you from just about anything.
Absolutely.
Other than people laughing at you. But, hey, they're 6 feet away. Who cares? Threaten to spit on them. That's the big thing now. You threaten to spit on somebody. They go running away or they shoot you. If you're in Texas, they shoot you. And I apologize to all my Texas friends down there, but they know what I'm talking about. So anyway, that was a very popular story on What in the World. This is What in the World on Mysterious Universe last week. Now we're going to get into my bailiwick over at Mysterious Universe, and that's Bigfoot and aliens. 2 of my favorite subjects to write about. 2 things that our readers over there just absolutely love to hear about and read about and talk about. All things Bigfoot and alien. So that tells me Bigfoots and aliens are partner, right? I mean, are popular in the United States. How popular are they? You may ask. Go ahead, ask me.
How popular are they?
Okay, good question, Karen. I'm going to ask you, which one do you, holy smoke, something just came in over here.
Yeah,
Um,
John just entered again.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So,
So, hi- this is interesting. There's our friend John Denalo. Can you hear us, John? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
What's going on? Oh, maybe we
He's
should
trying
talk
to
while
talk.
he's busy over there.
Yeah, we'll
So,
talk.
there you go. The technology just baffles us. So, Bigfoot and aliens we're talking about here. In the United States, both of them are hugely popular. Which one is more popular? I've talked about this many times. There's Bigfoot organizations in every state in the United States. Every state in the United States has had at least one Bigfoot sighting. The television shows, reality shows about Bigfoot have are far more dominant and prevalent on cable TV than than aliens. So
Sure.
you would think that Bigfoot must be more popular than aliens. However, an actual survey company was paid to study Bigfoot and aliens, and they compared popularity in the United States of both of them, and they found that this is going to be an interesting YouTube video that we have here. They found that Bigfoot in popularity is number three behind number one, aliens, and number two, aliens. Now, why did I list aliens twice? Well, that's why you need to stick around and listen to the rest
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the first thing that they found is that more than 1 in 10 American adults believe that Bigfoot is real. 10% of all Americans believe that Bigfoot is real, a real living creature. And that's evenly divided among men and women. Equal numbers of men and women both believe that Bigfoot is real. By generations, Generation Z, which is people born between 1995 and 2010, which I think one of your sons fits into, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
They're the generation that most strongly believes in Bigfoot. Millennials, those are the ones after baby boomers, and baby boomers were slightly more skeptical, but they came in right behind there. So this company is called Civic Science. They're a market researcher company. The purpose of the survey was to study conspiracy theories. So conspiracy theories about Bigfoot, you may ask? We'll get to that. So
I ask.
So they surveyed 3,500 US adults ages 18 and up. They found that 4 out of every 10 believe in conspiracy theories. Okay, so even more than Bigfoot, people believe in these conspiracy theories. 28% of Americans believe in aliens and extraterrestrial that have visited Earth. Okay, 28%. Number two conspiracy, that the US government is hiding evidence of aliens at Area 51. 23% believe that. So that's how aliens ended up number one and number two on this conspiracy survey. Number three, 11% of all Americans believe that Bigfoot is a real living creature. Okay, so 1 out of every 10 believe Bigfoot is real, but 2 out of every 10, almost 3 out of every 10 believe in aliens. And 1 out of every 4 believes that there's aliens being stored someplace at Area 51. So aliens win by a long shot.
Wow.
But that's not why they did the survey. Of course, they did the survey because they want to sell stuff and their customers want to sell us stuff, right? So they found out that the vast majority of Bigfoot believers, 43%, earn less than $50,000 annually, and only 11% earn $150,000 a year or more. Okay, so I'm going to leave politics out of this. I think you can kind of infer your own ideas from that. That probably breaks down the same for who watches the Bigfoot shows and who doesn't. But then they looked at shopping habits, and this is where I thought it was interesting because they threw the Loch Ness monster in. Loch Ness Monster believers, 8% of Americans, by the way, believe in the Loch Ness Monster. One is here, right? The Rich, is who I'm talking about. So Loch Ness Monster believers prefer Wrangler jeans more than Bigfoot believers. That was one of the things that they concluded from these statistics. Sasquatch, Bigfoot believers prefer Fox News more than Loch Ness Monster believers do. Okay,
Wow.
so that could be why you see more, you see less Wrangler jeans ads on Fox News. So my question, as was yours, is what is Bigfoot doing in a conspiracy theory survey? The answer is, it turns out there's a ton of Bigfoot conspiracies. And I'll name just a few of these, and this would be a great show to do some other time. They secretly, this is the number one theory, they secretly believe that when in fact, this is the anniversary, the 30th anniversary of the Mount St. Helens eruption in Washington. No, 40th, that would be the 40th. Many people believe that a lot of Bigfoot were burned and died when the mountain erupted in the many fires. So to protect poor, naive Americans from finding out that Bigfoot is real, forest rangers went in and found all of the corpses and buried them so that the news wouldn't get out. That's a huge, huge conspiracy theory. There's another theory that Bigfoot is really an alien. And so that kind of, that crosses over into the other survey.
Right.
There's another theory that Bigfoot appears in the Bible. Now, this has to do with giants, and I think this is in the Old Testament. You don't hear that anybody in the New Testament talking about Bigfoot.
I've never heard this in the Old Testament.
Yeah, that'd be another good story. And then there's a theory that the government caught a live Bigfoot in 1995 on Battle Mountain, in Nevada. So that was I don't know where they're keeping it, if they kept it alive, if they put it on ice. Bigfoot is ahead of the Loch Ness Monster and conspiracy theories. There's really not many conspiracy theories having to do with the Loch Ness Monster. There's one big one where they think that it's an alien as well. I forget what the other one is. That's it. They think Loch Ness Monster is an alien. So interesting stuff. Does it mean anything? Well, here's what they said. They concluded for their customers that there's a small but sizable number of people that believe in both. These people tend to live in rural areas, though not exclusively. They're active on social media and they're active on YouTube. So hopefully they're tuning into us.
They better.
Yeah, that's right. So now, what this says to me, my suspicious mind, it means that big corporations are spending a lot of money trying to find out if you believe in Bigfoot and you believe in Loch Ness Monsters and in aliens, and then they're going to try and sell you products according to those beliefs. What in the world are they going to sell that will target Bigfoot people? That's what I want to know. Other than camouflage outfits and Bigfoot scent. I don't know what. Musk. I don't even know who sells Bigfoot scent. It has to be some one of these perfume companies selling Bigfoot scent.
Well, I could ask that landscaping company not too far from here.
Oh, that's right. We have
Maybe they're
Bigfoot landscaping company. They're an interesting outfit over there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't. I'd like to call them just to see how they, what they show up as. Who's the guy who's that big hairy guy that they're using to haul the mulch? He doesn't talk to anybody. He's always hiding behind a tree. I don't know. So let's see how we're doing on time here. This has been an interesting show. We've had people walking in and out and checking in and out of our broadcast. That was our old buddy John Dinalo, who is attempting to sign in and do
Yep.
some What in the World of Sports today. We'll have to work with him offline and
Absolutely.
get him on next week. Because I know he always look forward to our next segment, which is Bluff the co-host.
Absolutely.
I still don't have any music for Bluff the co-host. I say this every week. I need to contract with one of my musician friends to
Come up with some
do
music.
something. Yeah, game show theme,
Yeah.
I think that would be fun. I have no idea how you would play it, but I'm sure that there's something on your little computer over there.
Well, we'd have to figure it out, but I'm sure we could do
Oh
it
God, you're
somehow.
not going to ask Rich, are you? No, you'll ask your son, right?
No, my son doesn't like to answer, so I'll ask Rich and he'll pull his hair out.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Good. That sounds like fun. So, okay. So we love having Rich as one of our contestants on Bluff the co-host. If you haven't played the game before, you can play at home. The way it works is I have 3 stories here that are very similar in style and theme to the stories that we've been talking about today. The difference is that they may or may not be true. And it's up to you to decide if the story that I just read is real or a bluff.
Yeah.
And as always, there's no wagering, as David Letterman always used to say, but you're certainly welcome to play at home. Maybe someday we'll figure out how to talk to one of our many online listeners and have them call in and play along with us. I think that'd be fun. The lovely Donna does play. In fact, she's in another room right now, so you may hear her screaming out the answer. That's not Bigfoot banging at my door, complaining about that last segment.
We love having Donna.
Yes, we do. Oh, yeah. She's also one of our other remote techies who lets us know when my hair is sticking in the wrong direction or we don't sound too good or one of those kinds of things. So anyways, we've given everybody enough time to get ready.
Okay.
Karen and Rich have their hands on the buzzer. We begin Bluff the co-host with story number 1. Rain falls from the sky, hail falls from the sky. In some places, fish fall from the sky, and in the movies, sharks fall from the sky. But in Kelowna, a small town in Vancouver, British Columbia, moose droppings fall from the sky. That's right. Local police report that residents woke up one day last week to find moose poop covering their cars, roofs, swimming pools, and everything else that was outdoors over the past night. What's worse, Kelowna got hit by a freaky freeze, late spring freeze, so that the moose poop had to be scraped off of everything.
Oh.
Weather officials blamed a small tornado which had traveled through the nearby moose forest, named for the large, obviously, herds of moose that live there. Residents say they're grateful that it wasn't a bigger tornado because most insurance only covers hitting a moose, not a moose hitting you. So we go to Vancouver, British Columbia, a suburb of Vancouver, Kelowna, where it was raining moose poop last week. Real or bluff?
I have to say bluff.
You have to?
I have to. It just does not sound feasible. Rich, what do you say?
I say it's a bluff too.
Rich says it's a bluff, even though he's heard plenty of stories about us talking about fish falling from the sky.
Yeah.
Not moose poop, huh?
Not moose poop.
No.
Oh, you guys are good today. That was a bluff.
Yay!
Okay, one right. Wow. So we move on to story number 2.
Okay.
Also about things falling from the sky. Residents of a small town in northern Mexico have decided to ignore their mayor's plan to end the COVID-19 shutdown and order everyone back to work after huge hailstones shaped like the coronavirus fell during a freak storm last week. While some people said it was a sign from God, weather officials blamed it on strong winds, which carried smaller hailstones back up into the clouds, where they smashed into other hailstones, broke, and froze together with the broken pieces sticking out like the spikes on a coronavirus. A survey by a local TV station found that most of the town's residents decided to stay home as a result for a few more days, or at least until the mayor goes to confession. Real or bluff? Hail in the shape of coronavirus in Mexico.
I didn't know hail could like go back up.
Well, sure, that's how it's made.
It goes up and then down.
Up and down, up and down. And
Oh,
See, you learn all kind of
yeah,
things.
I didn't know that.
it's
I'm gonna s-
water like rain
Yeah.
that goes up and down. And when it goes up, it gets colder because
Okay.
it's colder.
Well,
up
then I'm
there.
going to say true.
Well, I wasn't trying to convince
I
you.
know, but I'm going to say true.
Uh-oh.
What's your answer, Mr. Hale?
I didn't even think of that. I should have worked that into the story somehow.
I'm going to say it's a bluff.
Rich says it's a bluff. Mr. Hale says it's a bluff, while
Yep.
Mrs. Hale says that it's real.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Hale was definitely right about the story going about ice going up and down in the clouds. But Karen, you're right. It is true.
But my
Yeah.
question, my answer sheet right here says it's not true.
Oh.
Rich is the guy who took his SAT by making a nice pattern on the form where you put your answers.
Yep.
Isn't that the way it's supposed to be done?
Yeah, two trues, one false, two false, one true.
Oh my.
Like
It was
an extra
faster.
dot, yeah.
It was a lot faster.
Wow. So Rich has one right. Karen has
Two.
right. Okay. Wow, boy, this is a good week for you. So
Yeah,
let's
it
see.
is.
Let's see if you can make it 3 in a row, and of course the points double, so it's almost like getting 4 in a row.
Yeah.
All right. So going number 3. Residents of a small town in West Flanders, Belgium, thought their lockdown prayers had been answered last week when they woke up to find that it was raining beer. The rain smelled like fresh brewed pale ale, and people quickly put out buckets, pans, and anything else they could catch this malted manna from heaven in. Only after the rain stopped a few hours later did any of them check to find out why it was raining beer. It turns out the local Trappist monks at St. Sixtus Monastery in town were tired of being shut down too, and were secretly brewing their famous beer in violation of local orders to stay shut down, and filling the tanks again when they were empty caused steam, which rose and was caught by the rain clouds and then rained down upon the town. While the locals decided not to report the monks because it looked like it was going to rain again, the police moved in and turned off the monks' taps, reporting them to both the governor and the Pope. Okay, so town in Belgium where it rained beer from the local monastery who was breaking the coronavirus lockdown law.
Well,
We
I
have
don't
hail.
think they're going to have enough vats to cause that much steam to do all that.
This small town.
Yeah.
That's what it says here. It's a small town.
I'm going to say it's a bluff.
It's a bluff. The real question is, would you put buckets out if it was raining beer?
No.
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 Would Rich?
No.
No.
No. Okay. So what's your answer, Rich? I'm Googling it to see.
Hurry up, Rich. Come on.
Oh, it's got to be a bluff.
It's gotta be a bluff.
It
Oh, them's fighting words.
Yeah.
It seems like there's too many things in there that just are weird.
Think like monks.
Well, the monks, the beer, I thought monks only made wine.
Brandy. They make brandy too, which I guess is made from wine. No, as a matter of fact, There is one thing true in there, and that is that there are Trappist monks in Belgium who do make beer. However, the rest of the story is a complete bluff.
I won again 2 weeks in a
Raining
row.
beer, 3 in a row. Wow,
Wow.
that's amazing. That's I don't think that's a first, but it's been a while since.
No,
Yeah,
you-
you got the most points, but I
And she got them.
I got the second most points.
you got
Oh no, I
Oh, my
started an argument. This is what happens when we play bluff the co-host.
it does. It does. But you know what? This was a great show as always. And I want to thank our listeners. We had quite a few listeners. Rich pulled up YouTube to see how many people were listening.
Oh,
Not
great.
gonna
Thank
tell
you.
you yet, but we
Ah,
had quite a few. So share this with your friends and relatives.
yes.
Um,
You
well,
share with your enemies.
yeah,
We like to entertain. We'll entertain anybody.
and you'll talk to John, and we'll try to get him through the glitches of
We got to see him at least, so he is alive and well.
he
Yeah.
is, and that means that his mother must be doing a little bit better.
Yes. Oh, yeah, she
He
is.
can
Yeah,
get
I will.
online, so we're happy that all that's happening. So
Yeah,
have a
if he needs a cheap PC, I probably have something really cheap.
if he needs another way to log on, Rich
Yeah.
is saying,
Oh,
if
okay.
he'd be able to help him out.
I got it.
We
Okay.
could do something for him, I'm sure.
Yeah, oh, we will.
Okay.
All
I've got so many old PCs.
right.
Okay.
Well, I have to say, as an old techie, I am just baffled and amazed by Zoom, which is what we're using here.
Right.
It's unbelievable that because I grew up in the day when this kind of technology was absolutely impossible
Right.
and or exceedingly difficult and would have been extremely slow and nowhere near as much fun as this is. So this is great. I'm thrilled. I'm glad we can come to everybody over YouTube. They can see how lovely some of us look and how bearded the rest of us are. So
Well, everybody have a great Memorial Day weekend.
oh,
Stay
that's
safe.
right. Yes.
Stay within 6 feet of each other.
Yeah.
Don't get too close.
No,
Um,
further than 6.
further than 6 feet or further.
Yeah,
Yeah.
6 feet or further.
Yeah.
And just be safe and let's get
Don't share spoons when you're dipping into the baked beans and the potato salad.
Sounds like a good idea. Bring your own food. Eat your own food.
There you go. Great advice, Karen.
All right, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.